Welcome, everybody. So before we begin, I just wanted to give a huge thanks to our program sponsors for allowing us to do this fantastic program week after week. We are so grateful to our program sponsors that you see here on your screen. Big shout out to ADP, the Deloitte Foundation, the MetLife Foundation, Santa Fe, Church and Dwight, Carney Bank, New Jersey Resources, Merck, CNBC, Wells Fargo, CDW, EY, Fidelity, L'Oreal, Prudential, PSE&G, and Valley Bank. And of course, in addition to our sponsors, we have fantastic volunteer mentors from companies all over New Jersey and beyond that support junior achievement programming and all other areas as well. So we welcome all of you to today's session. Students, if you would like to come to upcoming sessions, we always welcome you. We've got some great things coming in the next couple of weeks or so. You can register right there on our website. I put the QR code there if you want to check that out. Otherwise, our website address will be on the next screen. Next week, we have our March Executive Career Panel. We've got a great lineup, especially for Women's History Month as we celebrate that. On March 16th, we have a session, Build Your Personal Brand. So if you haven't had a chance to create an elevator pitch yet, or if you'd like to work on your elevator pitch, it's a great opportunity to get together and network and practice communicating about yourself and develop that professional personal brand. March 31st, we get together for a special Women in STEM session. So if you're interested in a career in STEM or any other high growth industry, this session is for you. We really enjoy that one. And then April 13th, it's all about money. We're going to celebrate Financial Literacy Month with a special session on financial empowerment. You'll learn from some women experts in the financial services industry on how to make those great financial choices to empower yourself and your future. And our sessions continue through June. So we're going to keep doing this on Wednesdays at 5, but we have all other kinds of opportunities as well built into the Women's Future Leadership Academy. If you'd like to continue to build your leadership skills, students, we've got some great opportunities. You can earn our digital badge for career readiness. Digital badges are really cool. It's something that you can add to your resume or LinkedIn profile that shows recruiters or college admissions offices or employers that you have those skills that set you apart. So that's a great thing to earn. You can find information on that on our website, or you can become a student ambassador or a council member of the Women's Future Leadership Academy. I see many of our council members who have joined us today as well. And our ambassadors act as WFLA representatives in your community and school. It's very simple, and it's a great way to practice your communication skills. And the WFLA Council is an internship type program with junior achievement going on the rest of the semester. So we've got some wonderful students who are participating in the council as well. And if you want to learn more, details are on the program website right there at janjacademy.org. So let's talk about effective decision-making. I'm going to talk for a little bit about decision-making, and then I'm going to open it up to any of our volunteers. If you'd like to maybe share your own story or your own thoughts about decision-making, then we're going to go into some breakout sessions where you'll work with a small team to think of to make decisions and think of a solution to a problem by making good decisions. So, but before that, let's talk about this. And I encourage you to use the chat room feature for now until we get into the breakouts, because we love to hear your thoughts and feedback. So decisions. Decisions are hard, even the small ones sometimes. And do you ever feel like you don't know how to make a decision? You agonize over something, you're not sure what to do. If you've ever felt that way, go ahead and put it in the chat room. I'm thinking a lot of us really struggle with that sometimes. Decisions are hard, especially if it's something really important. And you can go ahead and put your thoughts in the chat room, students and volunteers, if you'd like. Everyone makes hundreds of decisions every day. Every day we make all kinds of decisions. Some are easy, it's something we don't have to think about, but they are a part of our daily lives. And as a leader or a manager, and as an employee, you often have to make important business and career decisions that affect themselves and others. And that's one thing that really makes for a good leader, the ability to make good decisions. And sometimes they have to be made quickly. So there are some common mistakes when trying to make decisions that some people kind of fall into. First of all, if you rely too much on a single source of information, for example, if you just get one expert opinion instead of listening to a few different ones. Another common mistake, overestimating or underestimating information from others. For example, giving too much weight to the information or opinion of a single person or group, or not listening to information from other sources that might give you a fuller perspective. And you'll see that later when we get into our breakout rooms and we're working with a small team. Getting other people's perspectives really helps you make decisions. Another common mistake, only seeing or hearing what you want and blocking out other information. Very often we sort of have tunnel vision because we think we know what's right, but we don't always open ourselves up to all the possibilities. And then finally, not listening to your feelings or gut reactions. Now, you usually shouldn't make a decision based solely on your gut reaction, but often you have information in your subconscious that can help you make a decision. So don't rule out your feelings completely. Sometimes going with your gut is helpful. So let's talk about decision-making tools. So when you are dealing with a decision, having a tool that you can use, sort of like a process, can be helpful, especially when it comes to some major decisions. If you're faced with a really big decision, maybe you're not sure about college. Maybe you're not sure about what classes to take. Maybe you got a job opportunity over the summer and you're not sure what to do. Those are some pretty big decisions. And if you're thinking about that kind of decision, if you've got something going on right now, you can go ahead and post that in the chat room too. Sometimes it helps to put it out there. If you're struggling with a decision and if you're keeping it internal, sometimes it helps to just put it out there, and that way you can kind of think about it out loud. But again, when it comes to making major decisions, a tool or a process is essential for good outcomes in life and helps you organize your thoughts and possibilities. So I am going to stop sharing here for a moment, and I'm going to bring up another screen. Let's see if I can do this here. Oops. Okay, let's see. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. I'm still kind of new here. All right, I'm going to show my screen here, and I'm going to walk you through the decision-making tool that is done by Junior Achievement. Where is it here? I can't find it. Sorry. Okay, here we go. Is this it? Yes, here we go. Okay. Can everybody see this? Oriana, can you give me the thumbs up if you can see this little shoes? Oh, thank you. All right, good. I did it. Okay, so this is a module that guides you through a tool called Paced Decision Making, P-A-C-E-D. And we're just going to go through this really quickly because, again, I want to make sure we have enough time to talk to our volunteers. So let me bring this down here. Okay, there we go. All right. So our friend Ferdinand, he needs some help. Someone asked him, so what college did you pick? And he said, well, I haven't picked one yet, and the deadline is getting close. I just can't make a decision. So we're going to coach Ferdinand through this paced decision-making tool to help him make this decision about college. So the paced decision-making tool helps you choose between several alternatives based on evaluating criteria. So this is what it's all about. Paced is a tool for making bigger personal decisions when you have several good options to consider, like choosing a college. So this is what it looks like. And PACE stands for problem, alternative, criteria, evaluation, and decision. So problem, obviously state the problem. Next, alternatives, list the options or choices. Then criteria, select the criteria you will use to compare each alternative. Next, evaluation, judge options against the criteria. How do they measure up? So you can score them, give them weighted numbers, however you'd like to evaluate. And then finally, our last step, you choose an alternative and support it using your evaluation. So this is a way to just kind of get everything out there and put them in the order according to your own personal criteria. So let's see what this looks like. For every choice you make, there are gains and losses. There's no perfect choice, right? Sometimes there's gains and losses for every choice that you make. And there's no right numbers to assign to each criterion. It's all up to you. It's a personal decision. And this is all about how you feel about each choice and each criteria. Paced is useful when it's impossible to say yes to multiple options. If you have a lot of great options and you can only go with one, this is the tool to use. So for example, again, for college, and to use PACE, you must have at least 2 acceptable alternatives and 2 criteria that will help you decide. So here we go with Fernandin. So this is what it looks like. P is for problem. So the problem here for Fernandin is, which college should I attend? Next, A is alternatives. What choices do I have? So he's choosing between a big city university, a small suburban college, or a faraway dream college. Next up is a C for criteria. What values are important to me? So the cost is important. The courses and majors I like. If it's close to home, and appearance. So again, you'll have different criteria, things that are important to you based on your choices. And then finally, this is when you rate your choices. So this is what Fernandin put. He put numbers here from 1 to 3 for each one. So he gave high numbers for things that were, high numbers for things that were good, lower numbers for things that were not as good. So he rated all his choices like this. Okay. And then next you can think about why you gave the ratings to each idea. And here's some ideas of what he put there, but we're not going to go through that because that's a lot of work. And then after that, finally, these are his scores. So he added up all the scores and this is what he got. So in the end, he went with, what do you think? Looking at the scores here, which do you think he went with? Yay, he went with the big city university, right? Because he added up all the scores. So that's what that looks like. I'm going to stop sharing this now and go back to my PowerPoint. And that is just one option you can use for a tool, right? It doesn't have to be, that won't work for everything. Just things where you have multiple options and all are really good. All right, I'm going to bring my screen back up here now. Okay. All right. So back to our tools. Our next tool we're going to talk about, and this is what we're going to use in a moment in our breakout rooms. And this is called the pros and cons approach. And this is when you have to make a decision that allows for gathering information, evaluating different options, and reviewing decisions. This is very simple. There are 3 steps. The first step is to identify the problem. The second step is to analyze the pros and cons of various solutions. And the third step is act on the best solution. So I'm going to put this back up in a moment, right before we go into our breakout, so we can refer to that. But again, identifying the problem, a lot of times we really don't look that deep to find the root cause of the problem. So you really have to take a closer look at what's going on. Analyze is when we brainstorm. So that's when we think of all the possible ideas, even if they don't sound perfect, you don't know until you put it all out there. So that's when we get creative. That's when we brainstorm. That's when we listen to others' ideas, and then write down the pros and cons of each, right? Some have good outcomes, some have bad outcomes. Most will have a combination of the 2. And then your last step, after you've done all this analysis, what is the good or the bad that can come from this particular choice? That's when you choose the best solution and act on it. Okay, so the pros and cons approach is the one that we are going to use now. But before we do that, I wanted to stop sharing again and see if any of our volunteers have any thoughts that they have around decision-making. If you use decision-making in your workplace, or if you've ever been faced with a decision and you weren't sure what to do. So I'll open it up to the floor. If any of our volunteers would like to share, please feel free to go ahead and raise your hand, or you can just unmute yourself and give some thoughts. Again, totally optional, volunteers, but if you have something you want to share, please feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself. We'd love to hear from you.
Hi, this is Holly. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay, hi. My name is Holly Haig. I work at ETS. I'm a senior director there. I've been there about 18 years and have had, various jobs in IT, operations, quality, and most recently in human resources. So I did just want to say that, throughout all my different roles at ETS, we've used a lot of these different tactics and approaches for decision making. And one thing I just wanted to add to the approach that you talked about before in terms of the rating. One thing that we've done, if one of the criteria is like really important or more important than the others, we may weight it. So for example, in the example we had before, like if cost is really, weighs more than the other ones, we might put a weight to it just to kind of, balance it so that, we get the decision based on kind of the weighting or what's more important to us.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we appreciate, certainly ETS, you guys have to make decisions all the time. So thank you for that. Does any of our other volunteers have any thoughts that they want to share around decision making? Just go ahead and unmute yourselves.
Hi, this is Arlene. I can share something.
Great, thank you, Arlene.
I work at Fidelity Investments. When I first started working here, it was an acquisition, so it was a new role for me. And then a year later into the role, they decided to relocate the position to Boston. I work in our New Jersey office, and I had to decide: do I want to move to Boston with this job or not? And so I did something very similar to this, and I put my pro and con list together and really had to think about, well, what does it mean to move? What does it mean not to move? And it was more than just the move. Did I really like the job enough to move? And so there were a lot of factors I had to consider. And someone that I work with suggested do a pros and cons. And it's really important to put it down on paper, or your phone, or some to document it and not just keep it in your mind, because you may forget things. What you may have a list of 5 pros, and then you think about it the next time, you may only have 3. What were the other 2? So it really helped me, and I tell a lot of people too that I work with when they're going through decisions to do a pro and con list, and it certainly helped me with my decision.
Excellent, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing.
Chrissy, this is Yanni. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, great. You're welcome. I just wanted to add to something that Arlene just shared, the power of actually writing it down, whether you choose to do so digitally or just grab a pen and paper, because it helps with what you mentioned earlier, where we want to kind of pay attention to our gut feeling, but we don't want to just react on an emotion. So when you write it down, it kind of gives you a little bit more time to process what you're seeing, the current situation, and then really be able to evaluate. Gives you the opportunity to kind of like leave it alone and then go back and look at it. And these skills, I think, will be valuable for those on the call, not only to make perhaps decisions that are relevant today, like which college to go to, but also once they're enter the professional field, or even, start families, it all kind of applies.
Indeed. Thank you so much. That's fantastic advice.
Add to that a little bit. I'm Rachel Schaefer. I work at Fidelity with Arlene. Nice to see you all. I think the act of writing it down for me when I've had to make important personal decisions really makes me think through beyond, what is the base level pro to this decision. Like maybe it's a promotion. Yes, of course, that's a pro, but how does that make me feel? And what are the, what are the implications of that beyond just the initial thought that you have? So sometimes writing it down just forces you to think about it a little bit more, as opposed to just checking it off in your head as like, well, of course that would be a good thing or a bad thing. Like, what does really that mean to how it would make you feel, and where it fits in for the rest of what you've got going on in your mind.
Absolutely. Thank you.
This is Linda. I agree with all of that. I think writing it down is really important so that you can go back to it and refer to it. Also, talking to other people about your decision. Sometimes, what you think might be a pro, you may not see both sides of a situation, and it helps to speak to it and get another opinion. So I think that kind of helps with the decision making as well.
Yes, to go along with that point, this is Nina. I'm an intern at Sika, and I'm also in graduate school. So it's a little bit similar to picking a undergraduate program. I think that talking to other people about your decision is really important, and especially different kinds of people. So when I decided what program I wanted to do for my master's, I talked to the professors in the program. I talked to fellow students in the program. I talked to some of my friends that are similar age, but I also talked to some of my friends that were a couple years older that could shed some perspective on the process. So I think talking to a lot of different kinds of people about your decision will help you get opinions that are a little bit more diversified. So you can really take different perspectives into consideration before you make your decision.
Yeah, I would certainly build on that. This is Renee. In respect to talking with other people, it's important also to do that when you're even, starting to decide what options to consider. When you talked earlier about, that brainstorming stage, when you look at options to solve a problem, it's really important then to talk to people that are very different. I was working on a team and setting up a mentorship program, and having people from different backgrounds, different experiences, that approach problems from different areas and different points of view is really helpful as you start to define what your options are before you even get to the point of pro-conning and making the decision.
I'll just add to that too. Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Shu. I work at Fidelity Investments also. I think doing your due diligence, making the pro cons list and speaking with a variety of people is important. But also one thing to note is there's never a perfect answer, right? So once you kind of gather your data, learn about what you want to do, it's okay to just make a decision and be confident in it. And it's okay to pivot, right? Once you make a decision and you learn more, you can change course. So I would agree not to act on instinct or emotion solely, but sometimes you gather all the information that you need to, and there's no one clear-cut answer, and then it's okay to go with your gut and go with what you think is the right thing to do.
That's wonderful. Well,
Yes,
thank you.
Self-confidence is also important. It's don't doubt your decision. Once you make it, don't go back, don't rethink it. Be confident in your decision, listen to other people, but the ultimate decision has to be yours, and listen to those closer to you. I support 4 executives, so I make decisions not only for myself, but for other executives. And when it's time to explain my decision, I know that I've made confident decisions for them, for myself, for the good of the company too. So it's important to be self-confident and follow your inner gut.
Yes, indeed. Great advice, Louisa, and volunteers. We really appreciate it. And we'll have a chance to share a lot more when we go into our breakouts. But before we do that, just real quick, I just wanted to give a shout out to our interns who are joining us, Oriana and Sanjina. I see them both here. So Oriana, would you like to say hello to all the students and volunteers really quick? Put you on the spot.
No problem at all. Hi, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. And I thought the advice that the mentors gave was really great. And a lot of the things that they said is something I would have said myself, especially as someone who's in college, still trying to figure things out, having to make major decisions for myself for the first time now that I'm on my own, such as finding out my major, figuring out how to complete certain assignments, how to find a job. In high school, in a certain sense, you are kind of sheltered to really getting out there and putting yourself on the spot. When you get out in the real world, you have to learn how to, rely on other people and also rely on yourself. So a lot of the advice that they provided to you is something I would have said myself.
Great. Thank you, Oriana. I'm not sure, Sanjin, have you joined? I couldn't tell if you were on or not.
Hi, yeah, I'm here. Hi, everyone. This was a great session. And I completely echo what was said and just want to emphasize that point that was made about consulting other people when making a decision. I think that's so important just across the board. And I love what was said about talking to different types of people. I think it's very important to get a diversified sort of perspective on, whatever decision you're about to make.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you who have just joined us, Oriana and Sanjana are our interns here with the Women's Future Leadership Academy. They were high school heroes for junior achievement as high school students. And now Oriana is at Princeton and Sanjana is at Drexel. And we are just so grateful for their leadership and inspiration every week. So thank you both. All right, so here is our task. This is our breakout session activity. So in a moment, I'm going to put you in little rooms. You're going to have about 5 to 7 people in your room, a combination of volunteers and students. So volunteers, you'll get a chance to talk to some students and also network with some other fantastic women. And you're just going to have a conversation, and here is your task. So imagine, whoops, sorry about that. Okay, there we go. Sorry. Okay. My mouse is sorry. Oh my goodness. All right. There we go. All right. So imagine this is your scenario. This is our breakout session activity that we're going to do. You and your team have been planning a statewide leadership conference for 100 high school students and 20 women mentors. The conference agenda includes an exciting keynote speaker, small group breakout sessions with activities, and lunch. So there's your agenda. An hour before the conference is scheduled to begin, your opening speaker calls to let you know that she had a last-minute issue come up and can no longer attend. The students were looking forward to hearing the keynote speaker, and she was scheduled to present for the first hour of the conference. What do you do? All right, and I'm looking at Louisa, who manages executives, and I bet you've had some experience with this. Whoever's on your team is lucky. So again, when you get into your breakouts, and we're going to do that in just a minute. Volunteers, go ahead and have one of your volunteers kind of facilitate introductions. Okay, students, you can turn your camera on if you like, but again, we don't want to pressure anybody because we don't know what's going on in the background. But everybody introduce yourselves. Students, you can share your name and your school. Volunteers, share your name and your company, and then have this conversation, right? You're on a team, you're planning this great event. Last minute, there's a big gap in your agenda because your keynote can't attend. You've got 100 students there and 20 women. What are you going to do? Okay, does anybody have any questions? All right, so simply follow the prompt on your screen to take you to the breakout room. We're going to talk for about 15 minutes or so, and then we're going to come back together. You'll be prompted automatically to come back, and then we'll share ideas. Okay, so just follow this prompt on your screen, and we will see you in a bit.
Hi, Christy.
Hey, Ariane, I didn't put you in a breakout room because I wasn't sure what your time. I know I'm overloading you tonight.
Yeah, no problem at all. I'll come back before, at a certain time before 6:30. You want me to come back like 6:20, or how do you?
Yeah, if you want to jump on maybe 6:25.
Okay, perfect.
It's a webinar. So, we're not going to have anybody else. It's just going to be us on the screen.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so that's awesome. And I gave you it's just questions. She gave me those questions for you to ask.
Okay, perfect.
So,
all right, great. Thank you so much. I'll look at
all right, thanks, Ariana.
All right, bye. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.